Hello everyone, I'm Kana Taku. In my previous episodes, I talked about terror management theory and how TMT complements our understanding of PDG. One hypothesis I discussed was the mortality salience hypothesis. This hypothesis argues that reminding people of their own mortality would activate terror management mechanisms, which include increasing the need for self-esteem enhancement and cultural worldview validation. If we want to test this hypothesis, we can randomly assign participants into the two groups: experimental group that is asked to remind their own mortality, and control group. So the question is, how can we remind people of their own mortality? There are various ways to do it, but one way that some researchers use is to ask people right about who are assigned into the experimental group about their emotions when they think about their own death and what occurs to them after they die. People who are assigned into the control group will be asked similar but non-mortality questions, such as experiences watching TV or visiting their dentist. After this reminder, both groups will be asked a series of questions to test if terror management defense mechanisms have been activated. These questions consider how these prompts affect the participants' self-esteem, in-group and out-group connectivity, materialism, and other potential defense mechanisms. And the focus of these studies has traditionally centered on the final responses, although participants have produced various responses to these two writing prompts. Individual differences in what they actually wrote about are not usually considered in these experiments. During my sabbatical in Japan, about 3 years ago, I designed a cross-cultural study using these same prompts with Japanese and American participants. The purpose of this study was to assess changes in participants' worldview as a response to these mortality prompts. And my main interest is, if some forms of self-reported PDG is illusory, then PDG reports would be inflated after the mortality salience reminder. If some forms of self-reported PDG is in fact authentic, then those reports wouldn't change much before and then after the mortality salience. But while testing these main questions, I found the participants' reactions to these two prompts fascinating. As a total, roughly speaking, 800 participants participated in my study, 400 from Japan and 400 from the United States. Of 400 in each country, 200 people were in the mortality salience condition, and so described their thoughts about what will happen when they die. Because we wanted to make sure that these participants actually thought about their own death as they were instructed to, we typed their descriptions into Excel so we can analyze the quantity and the quality of words and phrases they generated. And I'm the only one who can type the Japanese descriptions into Excel in my lab. I went through all of these responses, typed them, translated into English, and then while working with research assistants, we started to recognize some interesting differences across the cultures. For example, American people more commonly talked about separation of body and soul, as well as an afterlife, Christian religion, including the word God, and heaven versus hell. There was more of a focus on themselves, such as I will be in heaven, or my body will be buried, or my soul will be sent back. There was also a focus on proximal events, such as immediate visitations and funerals. Whereas Japanese responses were centered on nothingness, like nothing will happen, or something like reincarnation reflecting Buddhist and Shinto religions. There was more of a focus on the impact on others, such as my family will be upset, or someone will need to complete my work tasks, or my friends will come to a funeral. There was also a focus on distal or long-term repercussions, such as indirect impact for subsequent generations, including those not yet born or met, such as my future wife will be sad, or if I'm married, my child will be devastated. As for my own experience, when my grandparents died, I lost all of them by the time I was 13. For each of them, I attended their funeral and cremation. During the cremation, our family and the relatives gathered together at the cremation center to transport the body, and we waited for the fire to subside. Even though I was a child, I was an active part of this process. After the cremation was complete, we used chopsticks to lift the bones from the ashes as a pair and place them in an urn and took the turn. It is for this reason that there is a cultural taboo on passing food from chopsticks to another chopsticks. I share this because I learned that it is not common for American people to have direct contact with bodies after death and cremation. Having these experiences might have an impact on my worldview in regards to death, which in turn made me wonder how the contents of the descriptions on these two prompts could be affected by our past experience. I'm hoping to analyze all of my data on cross-cultural aspects of the concepts of death and design a new study on how PTG experiences change our worldviews. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like my episodes, and I will see you soon.